All right, so today we're diving deep into the world of hide grading and getting you ready for that big interview.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered, you know, who makes sure that that leather jacket you love or
Right.
those really awesome boots you've got on
Yeah.
are made from like the best possible material?
It's a good question.
Well, it's the hide grader.
Yeah.
They're like the leather detectives.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating job.
Absolutely. They're inspecting these hides, looking for, anything that's not perfect.
Right.
And they're the ones who grade those hides
Yeah,
based on quality. Like, think of them as the quality control expert for one of the most durable and versatile materials out there.
totally. And we've got like a career guide, an interview guide, even some info on RoleCatcher's AI tools to help you totally ace this interview.
Oh, nice.
You ready to dive in?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, so the career guide tells us that a hide grader spends their day examining hides, skins, this thing called wet blue, which is like leather that's been tanned
Okay.
but not finished.
Yeah, great.
And then crust, which is like dried leather ready for the final stages.
Yeah. Yeah.
They sort, grade, and even trim these
Right.
based on like all sorts of factors, the natural characteristics, the weight, and of course like any defects.
Yeah, it's all about making sure that only the top quality leather gets to be in those jackets and bags and shoes we all love.
Right, so attention to detail is key here. Let's jump right into some of these interview questions.
Okay.
The first one that we see in both the career guide and the interview guide is, what experience do you have working with hides?
Okay. This seems straightforward, but what they're really trying to figure out is what kind of relevant experience do you have? Have you ever worked in a role where quality was like, the most important thing? Maybe you've done quality control in another industry, or even something like woodworking where you had to, assess the materials,
Yeah.
look for
So even
imperfections.
if you haven't worked with leather specifically, you can think about those transferable skills.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to even mention your hobbies or, anything you do in your free time that shows you're passionate about materials or craftsmanship. Even if you're into like leather crafting as a hobby, that shows you're genuinely interested.
Totally. It's all about connecting the dots for them. Now, what about some follow-up questions? What if they're like, okay, well, explain how that experience translates to the role of a hide grader.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's where having those specific examples already in your mind can really help. Think about times where you had to make those judgment calls based on quality standards. Or, when your sharp eye really saved the day.
Right. And that's where RoleCatcher's AI can come in. It can help you tailor those answers and even give you feedback on your delivery so you're totally prepped for those follow-ups.
Yeah, it's like having a practice run with an expert.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right. The next question we see is, how do you ensure accuracy in your hide grading?
Okay,
This one seems like it gets at the heart of the job.
definitely. With this question, they really want to see that you're meticulous and you've got a process. So, think about the tools or techniques you might use. Maybe it's referencing, grading
Yeah.
charts or double checking your work. Maybe even using like a special system for documentation. Paint them a picture of what it looks like when you're on the job, making sure that each and every hide is graded accurately.
Don't just say I'm detail oriented, show them how you are. And then what about, a follow-up question like, okay, tell me about a time you had to correct a grading error.
That's a good one. With this question, they want to see that you can handle mistakes and you learn from them, Remember that STAR method situation, task, action, and result. That's a super helpful way to structure your answer and tell, a really good story.
And guess what? RoleCatcher's AI can actually help you with that too. It'll give you feedback on how well you're using the STAR method, which I think is amazing.
So awesome. Preparation is key and RoleCatcher gives you that edge. Okay, let's go to question number 3. How do you handle a situation where a hide does not fit into any of the standard grades?
Ooh, that one sounds kind of tricky. What are they really getting at there?
Right. Well, they're testing your critical thinking skills and how you make decisions. It's all about, what do you do when something unexpected happens? Would you consult, industry resources or maybe compare it to similar grades, and make an educated guess? Or document that anomaly? They want to see that you can look at a situation and you can make good judgments.
So it's not just about making a decision, it's also about how you communicate it, right?
Exactly. Imagine a follow-up question like, how would you explain your decision to a client, who thought it was going to be a different grade? You need to be really clear and confident and professional.
Right. And that's where practicing with RoleCatcher can be so helpful. You know, it can analyze your communication style, and it'll give you feedback on how to come across as knowledgeable and in control, you know.
It's like having your own personal communication coach.
Yeah, totally. All right, question number 4. This one says, how do you handle a situation where a customer disputes the grade of a hide? Now, this one sounds like a real-life challenge.
Oh, for sure. This is all about your customer service skills. The first thing you'd want to do is listen really carefully to their concerns, without getting defensive. Acknowledge their frustration and validate their feelings. And then you want to calmly explain, that grading process using really clear and concise language.
So empathy and, clear communication are key here.
Absolutely. If they're still not happy with the explanation, would you offer to reevaluate the hide, with them present? Or, maybe even suggest a compromise, like a partial refund or a replacement. It's all about showing them that you're willing to find a solution that works for both of you.
Right. Okay, so what if you can't resolve it, right then and there?
Well, even then, you want to make sure that they leave the interaction feeling heard and respected. It's super important to always give your customer a positive experience, even if you don't totally agree on everything.
Right. Okay, so question number 5 is, how do you keep track of inventory and ensure that hides are graded and stored correctly? So this one sounds like it's all about, organization and systems.
Yeah, it's all about being systematic and detail-oriented and being able to, manage the entire process from when it's graded to when it's stored. Talk about the methods you've used in the past, spreadsheets or inventory software or barcode scanners, whatever you've got.
Yeah.
Highlight your experience with those tools.
Yeah, and if you've ever improved a system
Yes.
in a previous role, you should definitely mention that.
Yes, definitely. Shows initiative.
Yeah, for sure.
Be ready for those follow-up questions about any challenges you've had with inventory and how you overcame them. This is where practicing with RoleCatcher's AI can really help you, think through those scenarios and get your answers ready.
Right, like a dress rehearsal.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Question number 6. How do you maintain a safe and clean work environment when grading hides?
Okay, so this is about way more than just, tidiness. It's about making sure that you're taking workplace safety super seriously. So you can talk about, all the safety procedures that you would follow, wearing all the protective gear. So, gloves, aprons, eye protection, and using all the proper handling techniques. And don't forget about cleanliness. You want to make sure that you're really emphasizing how important it is to have a super clean work area to prevent any contamination.
No, so it's kind of a two-parter. It's like safety and cleanliness. What about follow-ups on this one?
Yeah, so they might ask you about, safety challenges that you've had in the past and how you've addressed them. And, again, RoleCatcher's AI can help you prepare for these kinds of questions.
Okay. Question number 7. How do you balance speed and accuracy when grading hides? And I feel like this one could apply to so many jobs, too.
It totally can. They really want to see that you can work quickly, but without, messing up the quality. You can start off by acknowledging that, both speed and accuracy are super important. And then, give them some concrete examples of how you've done both in the past. Maybe you use some time management techniques or, made your workflow more streamlined.
Like work smarter, not harder.
Right.
Exactly.
Be ready for a follow-up question like, tell me about a time you had to meet a tight deadline while still making sure that everything was accurate. This is your time to really shine and show them that you can handle those high-pressure situations.
And again, practicing with RoleCatchers could be so helpful for this one. Okay, question number 8. How do you ensure that hides are graded consistently across different batches?
Okay, so this one takes us right back to quality control and standardization. They want to know that you really understand how important it is to keep things consistent, even when you're dealing with, little variations between different batches, talk about all the measures you'd use, like maybe it's standardized checklists or grading charts, or you have reference samples, regular audits, anything that'll show them that you're committed to consistent grading.
So it's all about having a system in place.
Exactly. Be ready to talk about, those challenges you've had in maintaining that consistency and how you overcame them. They're really trying to see your problem-solving skills.
Okay, so question number 9. How do you stay up to date on industry trends and changes in hide grading standards?
Okay.
This is a good one because it shows you're dedicated to learning and professional development.
Exactly. Be specific about how you stay in the loop. Like, do you subscribe to, any industry publications? Do you attend webinars or conferences? Even mention, any of the specific resources that you use, websites or online forums, anything like that.
And if you've taken, like courses
Yeah.
or certifications.
Yeah.
Definitely highlight those.
Mm.
Okay, so the last question in this section. How do you handle a situation where a team member is not meeting the standards for hide grading?
Okay, so this one is about your leadership skills and how you mentor others. You want to make sure you're emphasizing clear communication. Explain that you would approach the team member, privately and talk to them respectfully and give them specific examples of where they're falling short. Offer, suggestions for improvement, maybe additional training or mentorship.
So you're being supportive, but also making sure that the standards are still met.
Exactly. Now, if the team member doesn't want to hear any feedback, you might have to be a bit more firm. Reiterate how important those standards are. And if you need to, you can even get a supervisor involved.
Right, okay. So we just tackled those 10 interview questions.
We did it.
Before we move on to RoleCatcher, is there anything else from the career guide that our listeners should know?
One thing that stands out is that the industry is changing. Automation is becoming, more common in a lot of places. So, it's super important to be adaptable and be willing to learn these new technologies.
That's a fantastic point. It's not just about what you know now. It's about being able to grow and evolve as the industry changes.
Exactly. You can even highlight this in your answers. Mention that you're totally willing to, learn new technologies and adapt to different work environments. It shows them that you're thinking ahead and you're all about continuous learning.
Great advice. Okay, so let's move on to RoleCatcher and see how it can help us prep even further.
Okay, cool. RoleCatcher. It's like having a secret weapon for your job search.
Yeah. It's not just about like acing that interview. It's the whole process.
Yeah.
Right? Like your resume, finding the right jobs and like prepping for all those tough questions.
Right. And what I find really interesting is that RoleCatcher's AI can analyze job descriptions and figure out exactly like what skills they're looking for. So it's like having a personalized roadmap for each application.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So it can help you tailor your resume and cover letter to like really highlight the most relevant experience. No more like guessing what they want to see.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then like once you land that interview, RoleCatcher's got this AI-powered practice feature.
Right.
Which is like having a coach in your pocket.
I love that.
You can practice your answers to questions like specifically for hide grader roles.
Yeah.
And get feedback on like, your delivery of the content.
It's like having a practice run for the real thing.
It's like a dress rehearsal. You can work out the kinks, you can identify your strengths, you see where you might need a little more polish.
Yeah. And speaking of polish, RoleCatcher even gives you feedback on video rehearsals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's analyzing things like, your body language, your tone of voice, your overall presentation.
It's like a stylist and like a speech coach.
Yeah.
All in one.
Yeah.
That's invaluable for making a great first impression.
It is. And, remember, RoleCatcher isn't just for interview prep. It can even help you explore different career paths, like within the leather industry or even related fields. You can research, like, potential employers and even figure out skills that you might need to develop to, really advance your career.
It's like a one-stop shop for all your career needs.
It is.
And the best part is, it's got options for every budget, including a free version that gives you access to some amazing tools.
Yeah, so no matter where you are, RoleCatcher can help you take that next step.
I love that. Okay, so let's take a step back from RoleCatcher for a second and circle back to something you mentioned earlier about automation and like how the whole hide grading landscape is kind of changing.
Right, yeah, the career guide mentions this too. Automation it's changing the game.
So how can our listener like showcase their adaptability and that willingness to learn new technologies during the interview?
That's a really good question. It's all about highlighting that you're eager to, learn those new tools and systems. Maybe you've used specialized software in a past role, or maybe you're just a fast learner who is, excited about technology and improving efficiency.
So even if they don't have like direct experience with the technologies used in hide grading, they can still show that they're adaptable and willing to learn.
Totally, yeah. You can talk about how you adapted to like new software or systems in the past, or even mention like personal projects or hobbies where you've explored technology.
Yeah. It's all about showing that growth mindset and your commitment to, staying ahead of the curve.
Right. And this actually ties into another, key insight from the career guide, the importance of continuous learning.
Yes, it's not enough to just know like what you know now. You got to constantly be learning and evolving with the industry.
Exactly. And this applies to like every career, not just hide grading, whether it's reading, industry publications, attending conferences, taking online courses, or even just, chatting with other professionals, you got to make sure that you're always growing that knowledge base.
Yeah, invest in yourself and your future.
Totally. And it shows potential employers that you're serious about what you do and you're always trying to get better.
I love that.
Okay.
Okay, so we've talked about like the importance of transferable skills, showcasing your adaptability, embracing that continuous learning. Any other like nuggets of wisdom from the career guide our listeners should keep in mind?
Yeah, one more thing that stood out to me was the guide mentions how physically demanding the work can be.
Oh, that's right. It's not just like inspecting hides, it's moving them, sorting them, and potentially working in a really fast-paced environment.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you have any experience that shows that, you've got physical stamina or you can work in that kind of environment, you should highlight that in your answers.
Yeah, it's all about showing them you're up for the challenge
Hmm.
and that you understand like the physical part of the job.
Exactly. And even if you haven't had like a super physically demanding job before, you can still show your enthusiasm. You're willing to learn. Maybe you're into fitness or have hobbies that require, strength or endurance.
It's all about connecting the dots for them,
Yeah.
showing them you're that well-rounded candidate who's ready to jump in and get their hands dirty.
Totally. And speaking of getting your hands dirty, let's go back to those interview questions for a sec.
Okay.
We've covered the basic ones, but what about those curveballs that interviewers like to throw sometimes?
Oh, yeah. Those are the worst. What kind of curveballs should our listener like be ready for?
Well, one that comes to mind is like, tell me about a time you had to make a difficult decision about the quality of a hide.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's really testing your judgment and your ability to stand by your assessment.
Right.
So think about a time when you had to make a tough call, maybe even one that wasn't popular, but you knew it was the right call based on your knowledge and those quality standards. Be prepared to explain your reasoning and don't be afraid to show that you can, work under pressure and make those hard decisions.
Yeah. And this is another area where RoleCatcher's AI can really help you out. It can help you practice those questions where it's like a scenario and you have to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
And it'll give you feedback on like how well you're explaining your decision-making process.
Right. It's all about, being ready for whatever the interviewer throws at you. And remember, even if you don't have like the perfect answer for every question, the most important thing is to just, stay calm, think clearly, and really showcase your best self.
Yeah, great advice. Okay, so we've covered a lot today, from those, 10 essential interview questions to the importance of transferable skills, adaptability, continuous learning, even like handling those tricky curveball questions. Any like final thoughts for our listener before they head into that interview room?
Yeah, I think the most important thing to remember is that an interview is a conversation. It's your chance to show them your skills and experience, but it's also a chance for you to learn more about the company and the role.
Right, so it's not just about impressing them, it's about, seeing if it's the right fit for you too.
Exactly. Yeah. So go in there with confidence. Be yourself. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Be curious, be engaged.
Mm,
Let that passion for the industry like shine through.
totally. Because, at the end of the day, that's what's going to make you stand out.
Yeah, great advice. And I have a feeling our listener is going to rock that interview.
Uh-huh.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we've mentioned, throughout this whole episode, RoleCatcher. We've talked about how it can help with everything from, tailoring your resume to practicing for the interview. But I want to highlight one more feature that I think is super valuable. The ability to connect with potential employers.
Oh, yeah. That's a key part of RoleCatcher's platform. It's not just about getting ready for the interview. It's about getting your foot in the door.
Right. So RoleCatcher uses its AI to match your skills and experience with open positions and can even help you get noticed by recruiters, in the leather industry.
Yeah, it's like having a personal headhunter working for you 24/7.
I love that.
Yeah.
So even if you're not like actively applying for jobs right now, it's worth creating a profile on RoleCatcher and letting their AI do the work, connect you with opportunities.
Definitely. It's a great way to expand your network and stay ahead of the game in your job search.
Great advice. Well, I think we've covered everything our listener needs to know to ace that hide grader interview and launch a successful career, in the leather industry.
Yeah, I agree. We've explored the role. We tackled those tough interview questions. We even, found some Some hidden gems in the career guide.
And we can't forget about RoleCatcher.
Yes,
It's a game changer, especially for a specialized field like this.
it is. With the right preparation, the right tools, and a positive attitude, our listeners on their way to success.
I have no doubt. Now, before we say goodbye, I want to leave our listener with one final thought.
Yeah.
Remember all those skills we talked about today, like that sharp eye for detail, the commitment to quality, the problem-solving mindset? Those are so valuable
Yeah.
in tons of fields, not just hide grading.
You're so right. Think of this deep dive as prepping you, not just for this interview, but for like your whole career journey.
Totally. You're building this toolkit of essential skills that you can take anywhere.
And, don't underestimate the power of passion. If you can show them that you're really interested in the world of leather and all the work and skill that goes into it, that enthusiasm is going to, come through.
Yeah, it's contagious. All right, to our listener who's prepping for that hide grader interview, we're sending you all the best.
Go knock 'em dead.
And remember, even if this specific opportunity doesn't pan out, the knowledge and the skills you've learned will only make you a stronger candidate for the next one.
That's true. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep exploring all those amazing possibilities out there.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. We'll see you next time for another exciting exploration. Until then, happy exploring.